Hello, I'm Kurt Simic, President of the Indiana University Foundation. Over the years, many students have benefited from the kindness of people like Jesse Cox. Indeed, this university would be a very different place without the generosity of its alumni. While people such as Jesse do not seek the spotlight for themselves, we feel that it's important for students to know something about their benefactors. To that end, we've produced this video to give a brief glimpse into the life of one very special man, Jesse Cox.
This is a man who has made remarkable achievements by setting high expectations, working hard, and having confidence in his ability to reach his goals. His name is Jesse Cox. Jesse Cox was born in 1918 on a hard-scrabble homestead in Utah near the Colorado-Utah line. His family was originally from Indiana and had gone west because of the promise of cheap land. But they found that though the land was cheap, opportunities were limited, and they soon returned to Indiana. Soon after the family returned, Jesse's mother died, and young Jesse often lived with his grandparents, working on their farm.
I look back at those days on the farm without electricity as being introduced to hard work and the fact that you had to do everything right. Now, everybody says, well, if there's one special characteristic, it's confidence. And after years of looking back on all of the things I've done and the successes I've enjoyed, I believe confidence is something that you maybe aren't born with. If there's a lesson to be learned here today, for any future student or any future young man, it would be a way to build confidence is to do everything you can, the very best you can do it, and pretty soon you're going to expect success. Just everything that you do, I don't care if it's just you have to go out and shell 3 bushels of corn, you pick up every kernel off the ground and you do a good job of it. And you have success, and those build until you build your own confidence. You just feel sure that once you made the decision to do something, you've got confidence in its outcome.
Eventually, Jesse's family moved to Indianapolis, and he began to attend the schools there. Yet, according to his own account, he didn't place a great deal of value on his early schooling. In high school, he met Beulah Chanley. Together they set their sights on marriage, but first had to find a way to support themselves.
So, one thing led to another, and we were frustrated, of course. We had the same drives of every teenager and every 19 and 20-year-old couple has. And so I thought, well, look, I've got to do something. And I went to Butler Night School. I had a job I'd gone to business college part-time and learned how to type and do a few things that qualified me for office work. So I went to Butler Night School, saved every penny I could save, and I think maybe I had $300 saved, and decided I'd come to Bloomington.
While at IU, he began to engage his entrepreneurial spirit. He purchased a couple of old Model A Fords and set up, at least temporarily, his own bus line.
That's where this confidence comes in. I was a good mechanic, of course, especially on old cars, because that's all we ever owned was a Model A Ford. But I started a bus line and put signs all over the campus on a little round trip. Leave Friday night, come back Sunday afternoon from the Circle in Naptown. $1.50. And I had one student that lived in the house with me. He says, I'll drive one of your buses if you just let me use it over the weekend. So he drove it up over the weekend. I drove the other one, and we'd leave there Friday afternoon and fine until I got a call from, I guess, the Dean of Men. And he says, are you the young guy with all these signs all over the campus, a round-trip ticket. We've got a complaint. And so he called me in and he says, you know, these are public conveyances. And he went through a whole list of inspections and license and tests. Well, one of my Model A's didn't even have a front bumper on it. So I listened to his list well, and he says you got to have so much liability insurance. Well, I didn't even hardly know what it meant. So I went around that afternoon, took down all my signs, sold my extra Model A Ford, and kept the best one. And that was into that.
But it wasn't the end of his college enterprises. He purchased a mimeograph machine and was soon cranking out newsletters and handbills.
I sold handbills and things to all the stores on the square at Greencastle, and got a little contract to print what they called the Corridor. That was a publication put out by the men's dorms, and they would circulate that to all of the dorms, women's and men's. But I know working hard and doing everything the very best you can do it from the age of 6 on, and you're going to find out that things just turn out for you. Well, you take a stream of that kind of success. And it's just like when I came to Bloomington. I never hesitated to take my last $30 and buy a second-hand mimeograph machine, because I just didn't have any doubt I was going to get work for that machine. And just reams of paper, I opened up an account at the C.P. Lesh Paper Company here and became a regular businessman. I'd pick up 4 and 5 reams of this kind of paper and so forth, and I was in business, actually. So, but you get that, and you get it from building it in yourself.
In 1939, Jesse and Beulah married. After graduating from IU, Jesse Cox continued to put trust in himself and worked at several jobs while in the service during the war years. And then following the war, made a decision to invest in a business of his own.
There was a guy running an ad in the Indianapolis Star, Patterson Shade Company, and his business was manufacturing Venetian blinds. But he was the only one in town that I knew of, and especially the only one that advertised. And he always ran a little ad, Patterson blinds are worth waiting for. I thought, well, I can stop the waiting. And I looked into the product and saw how I would make it, and investigated the machinery that was available for manufacturing a metal slat blind, and the head rail and punch machines and so forth. And we went to Chicago on an exploratory trip and called on a few people. And look, even then, at the age of 28, people believed me. And I think that comes from this. Just you exude confidence, and people are willing to do or help you do what you say you're going to do. Now that's sincerity. But you got to, when you exude sincerity, you got to be sincere, and you can't. In fact, your conscience will kill you if you don't do it.
Mr. Cox's work ethic was developed, I think, from his earliest age and his earliest years on the farm. Coming from a farming background, he never lost that farming ethic. He always has an interest in what's going on around the farm, and I think that developed his business commitment and his desire to persist and continue to strive to make the best and do the best he could possibly do in anything he did.
Over the years, Jesse Cox's business holdings continued to expand, and he turned his eye toward philanthropy, making donations to numerous organizations, including Indiana University. His generosity created the pavilion on the Arboretum, as well as the Jesse and Beulah Cox Scholarship Endowment for students working their way through college. In addition, Jesse and Beulah bequeathed their 125-acre estate to Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation to become Cox Hall Parks and Gardens. The estate includes a historic Indiana farmhouse and a replica of the Williamsburg, Virginia Governor's Mansion.
At the press conference when we announced the acquisition of the property, He said and has said several times since, you're not known for what you do when you're here, you're known for what you leave behind when you're gone.
There's great happiness by being able to share it. And I can't emphasize that too much. But what's wealth for?
Throughout his career, Jesse Cox has remained convinced of the value of education. It is one constant that has helped guide his course through the years, along with a belief in the positive spirit of people.
Change is absolutely inexhaustible. You will live with new things every month, every year of your life. And I don't expect it to stop when I die. I'm positive it's going on. There's one thing, though, that everybody should know. And that is the one thing that doesn't change. Or if it does change, it changes with glacial speed. Human nature. Human nature. But nevertheless, getting back to that question, there's a great happiness. A happiness at a level that most people hardly ever reach, probably. And I've been that happy ever since damn near I graduated from college. It's just one of those rare things, and I think it adds to your success. You expect success and it happens. But I found out later that you had to have the backup. You didn't go without the training. So accumulated knowledge is the greatest power on earth. And when you have all those students and all they're doing is studying that wisdom that's been distilled and brought down to a textbook, and if they don't believe, well, I guarantee you that their success, their understanding of life, it'll be one of their greatest treasures.
All in all, Jesse Cox has found that the value of hard work and diligence bring about confidence in oneself. A confidence that is nurtured and strengthened through the pursuit of knowledge.
Accumulated knowledge is the greatest key to a future of happiness.